Hey everybody, Jeff here again to give another presentation. This time it's my graduate presentation on graphic organizers. I'm going to try to make this quick because I'm sure you're trying to get out of here. So mostly I'll just highlight some of the new findings that I gathered. It doesn't really overlap with what we already learned about in class. So quick refresher, graphic organizers, several different types. The four main ones we covered in class were matrices, flow diagrams, tree diagrams, and concept maps. And some other ones that I ran into, Venn diagrams and semantic feature analysis, which I guess is a version of matrix. I think the dog's whining. I'm going to go get her. There's some main types of graphic organizers. Talk a little bit about the history. David Ausubel, who we mentioned briefly in class, was kind of the originator in 1960 of graphic organizers. Used to be called advanced organizers back then. But it was Ausubel who thought that the purpose of the organizer is to activate students' prior knowledge and relate the new material to previously stored information, providing optimal anchorage and rendering the new material more familiar and meaningful. That was kind of cool. I like that. Relating prior knowledge to new concepts, and that's consistent with more research that I found from Anderson and Pearson in 1984. They dealt with schema theory, and what the schema theory suggests is that our minds are comprised of cognitive structures, schemata, of knowledge known as prior or background knowledge, which accept and assimilate the newly acquired information in order to enhance learning and retention of information. One has comprehended a text when he or she has found a mental home for the information in the text, or has altered an existing one in order to accommodate the new knowledge. So that's really at the heart of graphic organizers, linking prior knowledge to new concepts and using like a visual tool to do that. One thing I noticed when I was reading some papers is that people are continually redefining what a graphic organizer is. There's one as simple as graphic organizers are a visual representation of information in the text. And then there's one as complicated as graphic organizer is a spatial display of text information that can be given to students as study aids to accompany text and communicate both vertical, hierarchical concept relations and horizontal coordinate concept relations. That one's a bit of a mouthful. So after reading all these various definitions, I kind of came up with my own that I thought hit the middle. I write that a graphic organizer is a thoughtful arrangement of ideas which link students' prior knowledge to new concepts. So I think it captures the heart of the graphic organizer and makes it known that this is a visual thing. Speaking of visual, I got to thinking about what the different types of learners there are out there. You know, the three main types are auditory learners, kinesthetic learners, and visual learners. Obviously, graphic organizers are going to cater very well to visual learners because that's what they're all about. But the more I thought about it, I realized that if a student is in a lecture and the professor is lecturing, you know, they may have a graphic organizer in the background, but if they're talking about it, then there you go, graphic organizer is still serving an auditory learner. Kinesthetic learner would work best if the student is actually creating the graphic organizer, more hands-on. So it definitely can be used cross-platform there, which I think is neat. That's neat. Cross-platform also leads into the idea, we talked about this in class, that graphic organizers are definitely multidisciplinary. They are not reserved to any one subject. So sciences, math, language arts, social studies, foreign language, electives, pretty much anybody should be making use of graphic organizers because they're powerful tools. So that's another nice thing. So here's a bit of information that I found that I don't think we learned about in class. Graphic organizers have been found to be very successful comprehension tools within a learning disabled classroom. There was an evaluation done by these two guys, Charles Hughes and Douglas Dexter. They looked at 16 different studies about the the effectiveness of graphic organizers for learning disabled students. And they say all the studies that they evaluated showed a large positive effect of graphic organizers on post-test performance of students with learning disabilities. The studies also showed a medium effect of graphic organizers on post-test results 1 to 4 weeks after conclusion of the graphic organizer intervention, suggesting that the use of graphic organizers can help students retain their learning for a period of time, especially if they are structured in a simple way that facilitates understanding and perception of concept relationships, and if the duration and length of intervention sessions are long enough to positively affect maintenance. Now, that sounds like a run-on sentence to me, but essentially very useful for learning disabled students. Another benefit for graphic organizers. I did find one study that made mention of the fact that the graphic organizer group versus the control group, there was no benefit to the graphic organizers. It was kind of a wash. So I would still argue that it didn't say that the graphic organizer group did worse than the control group. So it doesn't sound like you're doing any harm by using graphic organizers. But really most of the reports that I read were in favor of graphic organizers. There was just one or two that said meh. Like many other literacy strategies, graphic organizers can be used pre-reading, during reading, and after reading. So pretty versatile there too. Another thing I looked up was the transition graphic organizers are currently undergoing from paper to the digital world. There's software such as Inspiration Software, which uses research-based principles and strategies to develop and support our visual thinking and learning software for students and educators. So, like I said, I was going to keep it short. In conclusion, graphic organizers are pretty cool. They're used for linking prior knowledge to new concepts. Critical thinkers can use them to hone in on key concepts. And really, they're kind of their own language. It's like a hybrid between language arts and math, if you ask me, and art, if you want to consider drawing everything. But yeah, yay graphic organizers. If anybody else is left to present, good luck.